like really good. I mean...
Yeah, I don't know. I listened to the recording and I didn't want to get in the middle of it, but you didn't. I didn't think you did. It said anything out of line or anything of the such. You know what I mean? So I just kind of sat back and laughed. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Who's Henry Yellar? Is that like Where's Dildo?
Anyone big yellow?
Whoa, where's Dildo?
Got it right there.
You know, Waldo? Where's Dildo?
Come on.
Yo, K-Man. K1MAN?
Maybe Gary's.
No.
Yeah, K-Man.
We're almost 30.
You know, some fool got that as a article who has probably absolutely no idea as to its significance.
No, that fool, that former tech, got it as a sequentially assigned call sign. The FCC must have been really excited to reassign it. Oh, you know, air quotes, randomly. I can imagine, and then he upgraded to general, and I can imagine his first few QSOs on the air. Oh, why does everybody hate me so much?
Shut up.
So what's the story?
Nothing. That used to belong to Glenn Baxter. Notorious and infamous.
Missed out on a lot of crap that went on in the 80s and 90s. Oh, God.
Anyway, he's dead. And then, like 2 minutes later, the FCC reassigned it as part of their sequential, assignment of call signs, and a tech got it. And then he upgraded to general. And then, well, I wish I were a fly on that frequency to hear the reaction.
Anytime.
W2STR remote. This is W1H Yellar.
MMR.
STR. W2BTK.
N1KBW.
Backwards.
W2PHL.
All right, N1BCG. Come on, Tim, there's a story behind K-Man.
Well, it would necessitate a very long buzzard transmission. And I don't think anybody wants to hear it, but I met up with Glenn on the radio back in 1971. Yeah, God. Or maybe it was earlier than that. There was at a time frame. Well, I don't think I was working or I had plenty of time to myself. I was in the shack in the summer in pork rot, and the receiver was on. And I'm towing around, I just had the receiver on or about this frequency, and this big signal comes on, carrier. And then there's an attempt at modulating, and it's all yellowy and distorted and da-da-da-da-da, and I figure, well, I'll try and help the guy out. And then finally I got that his call sign was K1MAN, and he lived in Belgrade Lakes. And the transmitter was his attempt at a big homebrew transmitter. Pair of 833s modulated by a pair. I think he was using a Collins 32B transmitter for the RF drive and for the audio. No, he was using a DX100. Yes, a DX100 with a stock DX100 audio off a 500 ohm tap through a transformer driving the modulators. And in spite of the yellowy audio, you could, response-wise, you could tell that he was, every time he nailed the mount tubes into grid current, there was no regulation. So the tubes would be always biasing themselves into cutoff. And I tried to explain the concept of bias regulation. And here's a guy that professed to be a retired from Collins engineer, and he didn't know shit. That was the beginning. I never heard him on the air after that. I even sent him up an appropriate transform where he could put in the DX100 to use as a driver. And many years go by. I moved to Maine. Then I wind up here in Skowhegan. And I first got on the air with low power with a Junkston Ranger. I was just so piss weak. But I've always been fascinated in 10 meters, and I have put up a 5/8 wave vertical cut-down CB antenna, which is still up. But it's got some intermittent issues. And I'd bellow out CQs to see if anybody would come back, because, hey, I'm up in a good high spot. 10 meters was, at least in Masshole Chewits, where I came from, was popular for local work. And nobody was really there. Then I made friends with a guy in Waterville, Fred, K1DAP. Hell of a nice guy, and we used to talk on 2 meters CB all the time when I'd do the long drive from here to where I used to live in Mechanic Falls when I was working at the radio station. So, come to find out, Fred and Glenn have known each other for years. So Fred picked up a B&W 5100, and the audio was yellowy. And I went over and visited him, and I went through it, de-yellified it and all that. And so it's Sunday morning. And come to find out, he and Glenn would have a Sunday morning schedule. So I got on, and Fred's on there, and he sounded pretty good, a little heavy in the low end, but a hell of a lot better than a stock B&W. And he was asking Glenn for an audio report, and Glenn basically told him it sounded like crap. And I was with my first wife, Kathy, who was in the kitchen, and she's listening to this. And she just turns and looks at me with a scowl on her face and says, "That guy, what an asshole." So that's it. That's the very beginning of my association with Glenn Bastard. But it's a long tale. And Glenn later on in life decided that he was going to become a bulletin broadcaster. He hung up his typical ham radio uniform and decided he's going to out ARRL the ARRL with his bullshitins. So he was doing them on slop bucket on 75 and 20 meters. One of the frequencies he picked was 3975, which is a Georgia single sideband net. And he'd get on at the same time they were. And the fights and the threats were just going on and on and on and on. And I'd get together with Glenn. He and I were friends for a while. And I made the suggestion, hey, why don't you try it once a week on AM up on 3890, which was then a popular slop bucket frequency, thinking in the back of my mind, well, we'll see how the slop bucketeers react to this. So the Glenn starts firing up. And then one afternoon, in October, I'm out there with a split maul, splitting up wood for the Woodline stove, had my ghetto blaster set up and tuned in on 75. I'm listening to a QSO on the big 85. And then on comes Glenn nearby, heterodyne squeal, and then he starts in. And the guys on 85 were pissing and moaning. It's like, I used to talk to that guy. What a jerk, And that became the beginning of the end. This is WA1H and YLR.
See, we have a disgruntled employee on the frequency.
Hey, we always do. There always is some douchebag out there.
Always. W3MMR.
I may have to make an adjustment here.
Man, whoever that is sounds like crap. Yeah, it sounds like they're on the Johnson Messenger. N1XBM. Hello, Bob.
I couldn't tell who that was. I did hear hello, Bob, but I didn't get enough voice to recognize who it was.
Perry.
Zero beat that thing. Am I fairly close now?
Yep.
Yeah, well, you're about 100 off, and Bob, you're about the same. You got to zero beat the douchebag.
Hey, if I'm trying to get a Dorito pattern here and I'm seeing a circle, what did I do wrong?
Dorito.
Too many drugs.
I'm trying to observe a Dorito pattern on the scope, but I'm getting a circle.
Yeah, this is just getting ridiculous.
Western CB.
Yep. Now, what are you gonna do? Well, that incites me more and more to get something of a lot more power on than this thing.
Oh, I think somebody's upset.
You got a zero beat.
Bill, you're looking for a Lissajou pattern?
Anyway, such is life.
There you go, Tim. That should be on it, I think. N1XBM.
Right on.
Yeah. Good evening. N1XBM here. Let me make some adjustments. There we go. How's everyone doing? And good evening, Perry. I did copy you, Perry. How are you?
I'm fine business, OM.
Fine business, OM, FBOM. Is that
very good.
Is that F-bomb?
Well, hi.
I wish I was.
Yeah, amen.
Hello, 6s and 9s.
Right there. K1KBW out there.
He was.
Hey, this is a directed net. You just don't come on here and just start bellowing out who you're looking for.
Misdirected.
That's more like it.
In his mind, it's directed.
Yeah, zero beat the frequency, Chet.
Lily!
I'm on 3884.936.
Can you hear me over that hammer out there, Perry? Can you hear me over that?
Yup, I can hear you.
Hey, where's Clark when you need him?
What did I do?
It's time for you to press your Kiwi expert into service on some of this crap.
All you gotta do is slide down 10 kc and it's all done.
All right, well, I'm going to shut my yap for a while. Why don't we all go into pause mode or slide off?
Well, let's go down to 3873.
You know, that's a great idea.
I'm gone.
I'm going. Good evening.
In the Soviet Union, we had no problems like this.
Everyone is fine business.
Came down here too.
Sound like you're talking through a cup.
This that came down here.
Where is Henry Ylar?
Can you hear me, Perry? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Where is Henry Ylar?
Can you hear me, Perry? Can you hear me?
Yes, Darryl, I can hear you.
Hey, Gordon.
Yes, they are.
Go back up on 85. Henry Ylar, calling Henry Ylar.
There you go. Divide and conquer.
I think he came down here too. Tim, this fool done came down here too.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to diversify.
That's exactly right. So let's diversify.
It's like every asshole and their mother's on tonight.
Don't let the turkeys get you down.
What'd you say there? The guy sounds like you got a 10-inch dodo up your ass. What?
You mean me?
Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Yes, you.
That wasn't very nice.
Who's Richard Nixon?
I wasn't meant to be nice.
Well, now, things have quieted down.
See that? If you persevere, you bore the cormer away.
Yep. Yeah, I've been busy too. I behave that way.
In the Soviet Union, ham operators have respect and integrity, unlike the United States.
This is a true fact from the news agency TASS.
We would like to interrogate you in a room, Timothy. Are you available?
No!
We have questions regarding your power output.
Well, it's not that much.
This space for rent.
And it's not output, or, oh, dang it.
Output.
Input.
Yes, input produces output.
Now, Kevin, you're sounding very strapping these days.
Nice one.
Sounded forced.
This is W2GOR for identification. I knew it was you all along. My name is Gilbert. Okay, Gilbert.
Did you know that Miriam has hairy legs?
Yes, and she uses a rotary lawnmower to shave them.
Exactly, because the regular mowers made in the United States make a very loud sound. The rotaries are quiet.
Yes, they are. And they're made out of hammer and sickle steel so they don't dull.
Did you know that you are a legend in the Soviet Union, Tim?
Now, that is very scary.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Bobby. Take care.
The Iron Curtain.
I did when I pipelined at it.
Yes, there's one person who helped me.
Before I go to dinner. When you say strapping, could you tell us in the Soviet Union what it means by strapping?
It means big triceps, biceps, and a very large crotch area.
Are you referring to BAs? Over?
BAs, yes.
Roger that. Well, my circumference of my BAs is quite sufficient for Miriam to be elated.
That's the worst Russian accent I've ever heard.
Oh, come on.
It's not a
You'll have to hear the rest of the story.
I think Perry had a better assessment.
We're out of here. Timmy, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Gordon, have a good night. Good to touch base, however briefly.
Yes, and the VNI sends his regards.
I'll send him mine.
And there you have it.
Yes, indeed. Well, I say. I may have to burn off some CDs and send them around.
SQSO has been terminated.
No, wait, I have another quarter.
Almost sounded like Tom's 10-minute timer.
You people don't know anything about form and decorum.
Form and decorum went out the window. Anyway, I'm going to get back to what I was doing, and I'll be just monitoring. This is W818LR. Well, you know, there's just a totally different mask of stuff here compared to 85. You hear Pissweek AM QSO in the background here.
See that? You just crossed the town border and it's an entirely different culture. Hey, I need those videos there, Tim. We gotta get that This Old Transmitter series up and running.
I know, I gotta think about that and put it on a thumb drive and that and a bunch of other stuff and just send it on down. So your address is good on QRZ, eh?
Hey, Tim, do you know what video format they're recorded in?
Oh, God. Oh, I don't know, but what is it, MP4?
Oh, all right. Those are useful as is. Yeah. You can either put it on a thumb drive, or if you want to do it the free route, you can always use WeTransfer.com.
Yeah, I know what that is, but I've never dealt with them before.
Oh, basically you upload it to the site, and then it sends me an email, for example, and says, you've got a file sent to you by Timtron. Click here to download it.
Well, maybe I'll try that and see what happens.
I'll brace myself.
All right.
Man, as soon as we vacated 85, the QSO immediately started up there.
Figured as much.
It was the vacuum effect.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
That carrier's still in there, though.
And that is exactly why my floors are nature friendly.
Anyway, I am going to step back out of here. This is W818 Yellow R.
See ya, Timmy. W3MMR.
One thing in regard to a past question you asked me in the photos you sent me, and I feel like it, I'll sit down and I'll just bang out an email with more inflammation on things.
Yeah, no problem. I just haven't gotten around to it. I was sick I'm honestly just getting over being sick. And then with work and everything, but yeah, I've been trying to find some time to call you, but you know how things go.
Yeah, I know all too well. Don't worry about it. I'll just give you some more information, and then, when it does happen, it happens.
All right, I appreciate it. Yeah, and that thing's not going anywhere either, so take your time. I'm going to go grab a drink. Sounds like a good idea. A nice glass of Pennsylvania Dutch birch beer.
Yeah, Dutch.
Hell.
Barry, best I remember has...
Well, not for nothing, but at least there's another Yariam Huso on the frequency.
Where? Oh, on 75.
Oh, are they? Then my receivers just, lied.
If we saw a landmark or something, we'd drive out of the way. Well, we'd never been in cars, and we wanted to stand in all four states. So pop in and see it.
Yeah, it's screwing up my sync detector big time.
Yeah, there's one on 75, one on 80, and one on 85.
Sync detector? What? You don't know where your syncs are? I know where they are.
Damn AMers. Question for you.
Beautiful night I got on the...
Don't you just hate those bandwidth hogs?
And we just sort of messed around.
So Clark, that filter unit, is that something that whoever's behind that, are they planning on possibly offering that to the public for sale, or is that just kind of like a homebrew private project?
It's very up.
Oh, the Max board it's in its final design stages. I actually have the second to final one sitting here, which I was doing some measurements on. We're trying to replace pots with fixed resistors. So the thing is trim pot. Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I saw the thread on AM Phone, and I was just wondering if that's something that something we might be able to buy down the road, or what?
Wow, I just had a crap out. Hold on a second. SWR is low, current is reasonable. What the heck? You will. It's a kit. It's in the final design stages, as I was saying, in the middle of getting cut off by my overload relay. I don't know why. We're replacing trim pots with fixed resistors to simplify it, and it should be ready, not too long from now. And then Tom K1JJ started posting about his bandwidth filter, which of course is a great idea for home brewers, and that's exactly what I was trying to do a couple of years ago, but I wasn't sure where to start. And then I met up with Rick, W8KHK, who was working on this SCAF filter project of his. And it was like Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. I said, hey, I got this compressor limiter and clipper, and I just need a low-pass filter, and you've got that. Do you want to work together? And he said, absolutely. And so that's how that whole collaboration started. But I've been, obviously following the AM phone threads as well. Tom has been really kind to us. He seems to like the Max processor. He's trying something we haven't. He's cascading 4 of those Max chips, the the SCAP, the switch capacitor audio filter chips, 4 of them in tandem, which is more than we did. So, hey, he's sort of like an alpha tester, but I think both Rick and I are curious as to how it'll sound. But yes, I'm sorry, very long answer to a very simple question. Yeah, those will be available to ham use. N1BCG.
Oh, okay. Is there a website or like a I don't know, like an email group to follow that when that becomes available?
No, it's going to be very obvious. I actually used a earlier version on the air for a long time, and now this latest board, I wanted to put it on the air, but it's on my workbench, and the moment I get done with that, I'll actually put it on the air. But yes, no. As far as the email group, there isn't, but it'll be. The AM forum, or I'm sorry, AM phone is probably as good a place as any. I think that's where it's going to be announced. So you will not miss it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so if I understand that right, you would use that in conjunction with your EQ, because that's just going to be for your bandwidth, but you're still going to want to tailor, your individual frequency responses within that bandwidth, though, correct?
Yeah, you can. The idea of the processor is if you connect a decent microphone to the input and then connect the output to your transmitter, you'll sound good. It was designed to be an answer to the going overboard, which is very common in ham radio, which is fine. It's like if you smoke them if you got them. But yeah, there's a lot of things that end up conflicting. Like, people will say, well, I love my EQ. I crank the bass up all the way to give me that big man voice. But then they find out it's muddy, so then they have to crank the mids and the highs up. And then they find out, hey, where'd all my lows go? And then they crank the lows up, then they crank the highs up, then they crank the lows up, then crank the highs up, and you end up with this big V. And all that is it's just the lows and the highs competing for modulation. And so what we've done with the Max processor is we said, look, everything from 1K down, just do flat, and then don't boost the highs any more than you need to. And you get a remarkably clean sound without going nuts. But you can still add an equalizer to it. The board is designed to be modular, so every single section in it has ins and outs that are normally jumpered if you use the whole thing. So the idea is it's designed that if you don't make any changes to it, it's a very basic processor and you'll sound good. But if you want to have a specific sound, you can always, drill holes in the back of your, or front, whatever, of your cabinet, chassis or whatever you put it in, and add all the inserts you want. Or you can jumper out sections you don't want. But they're all there. Basically, everything you need to sound good is there, and you can choose to use them or choose not to use them. That's the beauty of it. Fully modular. N1BCG.
Well, excellent. Thanks for the explanation on that, Clark. I appreciate it. N1XBM. I don't want to monopolize it. Just wanted to ask about the filter. So I think Perry's in here. I'm not sure who else is in here besides Perry and then Clark.
Yeah, I'm here. interested to hear that as well, because I heard Tom switching in and out capacitors the other day. He was messing with it the other day, and interested. And he had me looking up stuff. Cool.
Tom is going the ultra responsible AM operator route, where, you know, there's always that discussion of, yeah, you want to run full fidelity bandwidth and all that stuff all the time, or, you know, when to use it, when to not. And I think he's a great example of being judicious with it, you know. And I think he and I see eye to eye, and incredibly, we've never discussed this. But from what I've seen from his writings, I think we really are in agreement on this. You know, it's like, come on, folks, let's not go nuts about this bandwidth stuff. If it's a quiet day, you know, an afternoon, there's not a lot of people on, open it up, baby. You know, let the fidelity be heard, you know, because it's not like there's high demand for the bands. But when things get, you know, busy, and people with their receivers are tightening things up, then all that additional bandwidth is kind of wasted. So there's a time for everything. You know, the analogy, it's like finding a parking spot in a parking lot. You know, if the parking lot's empty, you could park your car 3 spaces across and no one's going to care. But you pull that stunt when the parking lot is full, you know, you're taking up 3 spaces and other people are driving around in circles looking for one. Yeah, you make enemies.
Yeah, that's why I have mine set for plus or minus 5. I generally don't go any wider than that, or narrower. If need be, I would, but yeah, I never go any wider unless somebody encroaches, then I'll, go super wide like this. But there's no need to.
Well, having the option to adjust it, wait a minute, I'm going to pick up things that fell on the floor. Having the ability to adjust, you're kidding. Did I just click off? No, it's still on. That's so weird. Well, that's weird. Yeah, the overload relay triggered and the transmitter did not go off. All right. Yeah, so having the ability to change your bandwidth on the fly, I think, is a very useful feature. So that's something we're working on. N1BCG, for lack of anything better to say.
W3MMR. Yeah, I'm about to look into this. This Max 295. I'm reading up about it now. W3MMR.
Well, there's a couple of options. We used to have it so that there was one bandwidth knob on the front, and you just adjust it to whatever you want. But the thing is that how do you know what to adjust it to? And it's very hard to calibrate something like that because, do you do it where the filtering starts? Do you do it at the cornering frequency? Do you do it where it's 8 dB down? So what we ended up with is there's a 3-position switch, and there's 3 trim pots, and you can adjust the trim pots to whatever you want, narrow, medium, and wide. And the way we set it up for calibrating, so if you build it, we'll say, all right, look, just here's how you set it for 3, 5, and 7 kilohertz. But if you want to set it to anything else, it's like memories. You can set those to anything you want them to be. But we start with 3, 5, and 7, and then you just change the position of the toggle switch, and it goes right to those 3. But because there's trim pots for each position, it's really up to you what you want them to be.
For their last ball game. W2PHL. Have you guys tried that on Slop Bucket? 4 or 5.
I did. I tried it once, but the thing is it would make more sense with a flex or an anon or some rig that's got pretty good wideband, because slot bucket, I have a ICOM 706, and newly added to the family, I have an ICOM 735. But both of those have filters which are really tight, so this wouldn't really do much on those rigs. But if someone has a, like I said, an anon or a flex, something where sideband can be, ESSB, then yes, this would make a big difference.
Yeah, not only for the bandwidth, but for the processing. I mentioned that to Rick. He sent me an email this morning, and it sounds all very cool. And like a lot of the older sideband rigs, the vintage ones, like the Heath kits and the Yaesus and stuff. I think the Yaesus some of them had RF processors or whatever. But I was just thinking in terms of bringing up audio density. And I think it might be an interesting thing to try in that regard. Unless you made the thing get narrowed down to like 2 kilocycles or whatever. But just for the fact of asymmetrical, I don't think really matters on slot bucket, but the clipping and all of that stuff, I think that's all fine business for sideband. And it might make an improvement on the older rigs. Yeah, the newer rigs, you wouldn't need it. It's all built in. But some of the older gear, so that might be of interest to people who do that vintage sideband stuff. And also the guys that do extra stupid sideband, they might be able to make use of a processor like that too.
Actually, where it really works well with sideband is, that whole dreaded thing about the ALC meter kicking down. People build that little circuit with the 9-volt battery to stop the ALC from functioning. What this does is it eliminates the need for that battery, the 9-volt battery and the potentiometer, because you can adjust this, because with the compressor, the limiter, the clipper, and everything like that, you can very rigidly control your peaks. And it's the peaks, it's not RMS, it's peaks that are causing ALC indicators on those sideband rigs to deflect. Because there's only so much amplification that the rigs can provide. So if you compress, limit, and clip your audio and adjust it so just the very beginning of the ALC deflection starts, you totally maximize the capability of the rig, and you'll never see the ALC meter move beyond that. And so it's actually kind of a rip-off, because if you just put raw audio in there, the ALC responds to peaks, not RMS. So you're totally getting ripped off. Your RF amplifier on your sideband rig is rolling back its output power based on peaks, which contain no real energy. So it's a total rip-off. So if you can reduce the difference between our average and peak power to the point where the ALC meter doesn't, or the ALC circuit in the sideband rig doesn't start reducing the output power, you now have maximized the output for that rig without making any modifications to it.
Yeah, I think that's going to work out nice. You just have to make like a little YouTube video once you get that thing going, and put it on. I'm trying to think. I have an old what is that? A Uniden Tempo 2020 that has absolutely no sideband processing in it at all. And I actually could test it out with one of the other processors I have here, like the 222 or whatever, and see how that responds on slot bucket. And I think it's going to be just like you said. It's going to keep everything under control, and you're going to get more fire in the wire. And I think that would appeal to the whole slot bucket there. Anyway, W2PHL.
And W2BTK. Is this where you guys are hanging out now?
Well, we're trying to get away from a Cormer, so we're here. This is the refugee frequency.
Don't wanna live
like a refugee.
So, Clark, you heard I had an explosion with my 810 rig earlier, but I'll just drop that bombshell and ask you about something else. I'm trying to get my XY pattern going here, and I'm just seeing a circle. What did I do wrong?
It's out of phase. That's a Lissajou pattern.
Oh, crap.
Are you, wait. Are you trying to get the modulation? Are you trying to see are you trying to measure modulation?
I want to see a trapezoid pattern.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about phase between two audio channels. Never mind. You're seeing a circle. Yeah, one of your oscilloscope inputs is out of phase. Or, well, you can't really switch those, but one of your pickups, you have to flip the phase on it.
Interesting. I'd try that.
Are you looking at the linearity between your audio and your RF, or are you looking between stages and like between an amplifier and your transmitter?
I'm just looking at the audio and RF from this Viking 2, and that's it. I just wanted to get the trap pattern set up because I want to do some testing on some other crap. I've been playing with these MOSFETs and crap with these little CBs, and I think it's all a bunch of hooey. I want to see the trap pattern.
Oh my God, he said it was a bunch of hooey. That's a Franklin P. Quigley term.
Yeah, I mean, I put this MOSFET in and it does like more watts. And so, let's see.
Now these MOSFETs are in your Johnson Viking?
No, I told you they're inside small plastic CB radios that I run into a dummy load for scientific purposes.
Oh, okay, then that's fine.
Bob, do you have cameras in here? Yeah, and I look good in this lab coat too. It's a little bit short and I'm not wearing any pants.
That's a problem. Yeah, there's a TMI bulb buster.
Well, I'm checking it over. See, I've put a large mirror covering the entirety of one of the walls, the north-facing wall in the shack. And as I'm sitting here observing myself, I've got metering for my transmitter. I need metering for myself also to make sure that I look 100% as I'm transmitting. And yeah, I look good in the reflectometer over there. Very impressive. Slightly X-rated, but what are you going to do? This is my freedom to operate my station as I please.
Well, he identifies the scientist.
He's a natural man.
Yeah. I'm having fun just running this Viking 2. It's like nice, quiet, I don't have to turn the receive volume up to hear over a bunch of noise. Yeah, I had it running really, really well. And one of the output capacitors that's connected, right to the tank coil and the plate of the 810 took a crap. And I don't blame it because I nicked it with a drill bit. I was drilling up from the bottom, making a hole for something, and I just nicked the bottom of it, like the metal part, the ground connection, and it wasn't very bad. And then I tested it thoroughly, and it worked, and it continued to work, making 350 watts carrier. And then I applied modulation, and that sent the thing, it was shaking and jumping up and down and vibrating in there, like doing crazy crap, man. And it was pretty spectacular, and now I need a new cap. So there you go.
I keep picturing Steiny and Spanky helping out with the thing bouncing around on the floor going, whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, the birthday cake.
A little bubble yum bubble gum would have fixed that, but it's too late now.
Yeah. Well, no, I blew it up. I blew it up really well, too. I mean, I let it go for a minute, and it didn't start jumping and physically shaking at first. It was just snaps and crackles and pops and things that sounded really bad. So I just stayed on the key, and then I heard this, like, it sounded like if you put, like, a brick in a washing machine, and, like, da-da-da-da-da. It was doing that, so I unkeyed, and then, whoa, that was cool. So I keyed back up, it was da-da-da-da-da-da, and then it stopped. And I was like, all right, let's pull this thing out and see what happens.
You're probably not 20 over in Jacksonville, though, just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, do I want to be? I don't always want to be.
Sometimes you just gotta be. Yeah, Clark, the other night, I was just hanging out, and everybody, most of the guys were on. I don't know if you were on, but I started tuning around on the web SDRs, and Billy was everywhere. He was like 10 dB stronger than everyone else that was up in this here vicinity. Yeah, he had a pretty big signal.
Well, yeah, it must have been conditions and, you know, the antenna system, and everybody was coming in here 70 dB over S9, so.
Big ground screen.
I mean, the extra 3 or 4 dB that you kick in with the amplifier makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah, 3 or 4 dB for sure.
Ground screen.
I have no ground screen. I don't do any of that stuff over here. I don't even have like a separate ground rod for my shack. It all bonds to the ground bus in my electrical panel, and there's 2 ground rods out there. That's it.
I think it's funny that these guys on Slot Bucket just fired up on 3873 that they can hear each other.
Well, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
I like all the noise and interference. It makes you know that you're on the radio. It's all cool.
Phil, you're starting to go away, though.
I know that band is shifting around a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to change. And Clark, yeah, I'm just looking at this Max processor here. Looks pretty freaking cool, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up, dude. Just here fiddle farting through all these posts.
Fiddle farting.
Pretty interesting stuff.
Bob, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say you gotta go run the dishwasher. Yeah, it happened because, you know how, like, Rob, N1ALF, does those live streams? Well, you know, like, the shower got involved and all these things, so, like, a big deal was made of it. Ask Clark.
Oh, yeah. Rob loves to jump in the shower. I'm sorry, in the dishwasher.
Ouch.
That's better. Well, no, we don't want them to get nervous is all.
Sideband stuff, those dingbat Texas traffic nets guys who always show up here even though there's already a QSO and they can hear it.
Yeah, probably. Are you guys going to be on here for a minute?
A minute? Yeah, sure.
Well, no, I'm saying I can take steps to do my part in making it go away. But there's no point if we're not going to talk for long.
I'm gonna get out of here in a little bit.
Yeah,
you guys continue.
We've had conversations on this frequency with the Texas Traffic Net. By the way, just for laughs, I know it doesn't do any good because they selectively don't hear it when people say the frequency's in use. So if you're part of a traffic net and you're thinking of starting up, the frequency is already being used by QSO, but you know that because you're hearing us. So yeah, frequency's in use, so slide it down there, Texas Traffic Net.
Oh boy, Clark, you're starting to go away.
Yeah, right?
Clark's hanging in there pretty good. Phil, you're hanging in there pretty well also.
Everybody's hanging in here good, except for Phil.
Clark,
weird. Phil's further away than you, Billy.
Propagation.
That's weird. Phil's farther away than Billy. And I can hear Billy, but hardly hear Phil.
I gotta rearrange the beam. I'm bouncing off the Azores right now. Hold on. I'll aim it towards Uranus.
Oh, cool. There's a lot of static crashes on the van tonight.
Yeah, well, this is as good as it's going to get. It's just going to continue to get worse, so enjoy it.
Oh, I know. I can't wait for June and July. I can't. I really can't. Mr. Softy starts coming around again. So much for my summer bod.
Hola, hola. I gotta flip the phase of this thing. I mean, the polarity of the wiring. W2BTK.
See, now you've shamed me into IDing. N1BCG.
W3MMR. Identification.
I'm going to make IDing cool again.
That should be a button.
Every 10 minutes.
Hey, we were pretty good about IDing during that whole 7-hour ordeal. We were IDing, man. It was good.
Yeah, you guys were on when I got off the air at like 6, and I got back out to get something to drink at like 11:30. You guys were still on.
Yeah, we sat there and talked with our little group for about 7 hours that night, and it was a lot of fun. Everybody was real loose and it was nice.
Was it Friday or something like that? There was one night I saw you guys on. I was going I couldn't get it on here, and it turned out to be an epic night of some 75-meter yum.
Yeah, that was Friday night, and the whole thing's on YouTube. If you have 7 hours when you're doing something monotonous, you can listen to it.
Oh my God, there you go. You know what? If there's things that aren't going on in 75 years, you can always